From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your Evening Update.
Cascade Paint and Supply is Reading's oldest family-owned paint store, established in 1953. We are the largest Dunn Edwards dealer in the nation, and most of our products are made in the U.S. Our friendly and knowledgeable staff are ready to answer your questions and help you today.
Well, as the storm system approaches, I want to remind you that, of course, you need to keep it right here at Weather NorCal. Brian will be here. Brian Wilson will be here to give you the latest updates on that. Of course, I will try to be here as well on social media, keeping you updated on the storm. But you can also help out. If you have any storm photos that you want to share, just go to the Weather NorCal app, and you can share them very easily to Weather NorCal, and we can get those shared. We can show those. Of course, I will try to display as many as I can during my Monday broadcast of Coffee with Kruger, Monday morning at 6:30 in the morning. Be sure when you send in those storm photos that you let me know where the storm is, what we're looking at, and of course, if there's snow involved, what elevation we're looking at as well. All right, let's go and take a look at our headlines. Rain and wind returns for your Saturday. And not to mention your Sunday, and your Monday, and Tuesday. You get the idea. This is going to continue for a while. Off and on rain through next Wednesday, as a matter of fact. Snow levels will be high, at least 5,000 feet and higher. There could be points, especially as we go into, say, around Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, that they could drop maybe a little bit lower than that. But I think for the most part, 5,000 feet and higher. And then a drier pattern by the end of next week, and possibly even into that next weekend. But we look at our planner for tonight into tomorrow. We're seeing the clouds and we're seeing the rain making their way back into the picture for pretty much everyone. All right, so there you can see for the valley, there's the rain coming in the morning, especially for the second half of the day. Siskiyou County, Modoc County, Eastern Mountains, all, of course, seeing that chance for rain with those snow levels, as mentioned, about 5,000 feet. All right, so here's what I'm watching here through the weekend and even into next week. Number one, ground is already saturated. We've seen a lot of rainfall up to this point. We're going to get more rain on top of that. Ground is very saturated and flooding is going to be a bit of a concern. Now, I'm not expecting major flooding, but there are going to be a lot of the low-lying areas that typically see flooding during these types of events that will most likely see some flooding. Mudslides and debris flows are also going to be something that we'll need to be concerned about for some of those mountain highways. Now, it's not just the rain and the flooding we've got to be concerned about, but the snow. Now, yes, it's going to be high snow levels. But if you are traveling over any of the higher mountain passes, especially east of I-5, maybe heading out to Reno, or maybe up to Alturas, or to the south and east of that, maybe towards the Tahoe region, do be aware of the fact that as you go above 4,500 feet, and especially 5,000 feet, you could be looking at the potential for some snow on those mountain highways, which would mean chain requirements. And on top of that, the winds will be fairly gusty, so you could be looking at blowing snow at those elevations as well. So again, speaking of those winds, I'm expecting gusty winds as well. 30, even upwards of 40 miles per hour for both Saturday and Sunday. And I'm thinking Sunday's winds actually may be even stronger than Saturday. So rain, wind, and snow. That's what we're dealing with this weekend, with more rain going into next week as well, which we'll talk about that in more detail here in a second. All right, so tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., you're waking up, having your cup of coffee, not with me because I don't do coffee with Kruger on the weekends, but we are going to be dealing with some wet weather. Now, the heaviest rainfall off to the north and west, off to the west. You can see some of the heavier rainfall coming in from the south down to places like Glenn County. We're not seeing a lot of activity at this point off to the north and to the east. Okay, now we take you into the noon hour on Saturday. Snow levels, again, 5,000, 6,000 feet. I'm going to keep it there pretty much through the weekend, by the way. All right, so now you can see the main band of moisture is right here, the coast. And even some rainfall making its way into Modoc and even parts of Lassen County as well. But the heaviest rainfall is still not in the valley just yet. I mean, it'll be moderate rain for some, and you can see even not that much rainfall down to the south. But then that all shifts eastward. So we expect the heavier rainfall coming in Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening for the valley, not to mention out towards Siskiyou County. But things are starting to dry out. Off to the west, we're seeing heavy snow, some of those higher mountain peaks here. So we could be looking at some good snow out at the ski park. That being said, with snow levels around 5,000 feet, maybe even a bit of a slushy mix for both Saturday and Sunday. But there you can see some of the snow in the mountains off to the east as well. Okay, so we take you into Saturday night, still some leftover showers and snow flurries. But overall, we may see a little bit of a break. Okay, so Saturday night, early Sunday morning, not much going on out there, right? Again, maybe a straight sprinkle, light shower, but that's it. Now we go to Sunday in the afternoon. We see the next round of rain come in. Now it's coming in from the south, so yes, it's a warmer source of moisture, so it's going to keep those snow levels fairly high. Taking you into Sunday afternoon, Sunday night, that rain is just going to stick in place. So we got some heavy rainfall. I think heavy rainfall coming in Sunday, and as I mentioned, the winds may be stronger on Sunday as well, which we'll get into that here in a second. All right, so we look at the forecast rain totals. All right, so here we go. Taking you all the way through Sunday night. I think we could easily see upwards of 1.5 inches to quite possibly over 2 inches of rain for parts of the valley. Now, we're also looking at some pretty decent amounts off to the north and east. 1/2 inch in Alturas, 3,200 in Susanville, about 3/4 of an inch out in Ayden. Now, you take you off to the west coast, not as much as the valley, but you can see kind of the heaviest rainfall will be in the valley, foothills east of the valley, and then working its way westward to the coast. Okay, so snow. Now, one of the things you look at here, and you'll notice that a lot of the lower mountain communities are not picking up on any accumulating snow. That's because your elevation is too low for that. This is just picking up on maybe the potential for a mix, but no accumulating snow in Chester. So you have to go above 5,000 feet. That's where we're going to run into those chain requirements. But I mean, we're measuring it in feet at this point as you go to the Mount Shasta, the mountain itself, right? The Trinity Alps, Marble Mountains, take you out to Lassen Peak, right? Looking at feet of snow on those mountains. It's going to be a gorgeous sight, and it's going to be much needed snowfall too. Get that snowpack up. Now we take a look at the ski park, as I mentioned, with snow levels expected to be around 5,000 feet. We could be looking at maybe a bit of a sloppy mix there for both Saturday and Sunday, but I think there could be points in time where it's just a nice fluffy snow for the ski park. And when you look at the ski park, measuring it in 1 to maybe even upwards of 2 feet or more. Just over the weekend alone. That's not including what we could be looking at as we go into Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday. Now the storm impacts, and it's mainly just, when we're talking about snow, it's not going to be that bad actually. When you go up on I-5, it's just in the form of rain. We're not seeing any snow impacts there. Here's Highway 299. Not looking at any snow impacts there either. If we head off to the east, now there you can see some limited out towards places like Cedar Pass, for example. But some of those higher elevations, Bogard Ranger Station, we're kind of getting in that limited to minor. And of course, as you head down to the south, there's 80. Right now, you're getting into some bigger problems because we have the higher elevations in those higher mountain passes, especially down to the south. But we are seeing that as you go from Redding to the east, and not to mention Chico to the east, maybe getting towards Susanville, and not to mention Reno as well. So again, the impacts are going to be mainly in the form of rain. And as I mentioned, maybe even some mudslides and debris flows for some of those mountain highways. Something to kind of take into account if you do have to travel in the mountains over the weekend. Now let's talk about those winds. Now today, not much of an issue, right? But we go into Saturday morning, the winds are gusty for the coast in particular, and then that progresses eastward and we see gusty winds for the valley. 20 over 30 miles per hour are a possibility for the valley as well. Now we go into Sunday. Sunday morning, not so bad, a little breezy in spots, especially for the coast, but those winds pick up as we go into Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. Now we're seeing again 20 to even upwards of over 30 miles per hour for both the coast and the valley, not to mention the eastern mountains around Susanville and Quincy. Even Alturas seeing some gusty winds out there as well, and not to mention Bernie and even Mount Shasta. So if you're heading out to the ski park, be prepared for the fact that, yeah, okay, we've got some snow out there and it may be a little wet too, but also those gusty winds could create some problems for the ski park as well. Okay, here's your long range, and I want to show you the overall setup pattern here because this is what's setting ourselves up for the heavy rainfall. All right, so here we are today at 6 p.m. Here is the atmospheric river, or the Pineapple Express, or the Coconut Connection. All right, whatever you want to call it. You can call it whatever you want, right? A source of moisture. That's essentially what we're talking about here. This here is a nice source of moisture that we're looking at here. So as these storm systems come through, they tap into that moisture and we see the rain. Okay, so as we take a look at the system here. So this is what we have over the weekend. I showed you what we're going to see for the weekend. Now let's kind of go into Sunday into Monday. So here's Sunday at 5 p.m. Here's an area of low pressure. Here is that moisture coming in from the south, that moisture source. This is tapping into it. The flow around of it is just transporting that moisture and that rain right into Northern California. This will slowly work its way to the north and east through next week, at least into Monday, Tuesday of next week. Then by Tuesday and Wednesday, that area of low pressure breaks down, but we still have what's known as a trough of low pressure. See this trough right here? You put a line right in there. Go to the east of that line. This is where you see the most amount of instability and where we see the showers. Now, we may see some leftover showers Wednesday, but then as we go into Thursday, Friday, this low pressure system, it kind of busts up against the ridge of high pressure and kind of shifts more down to the south here. So we'll dry things out by the end of next week. This may eventually impact our weather sometime near that weekend, if not into the beginning of that next week. So again, we're going way out. This is looking at 1 week from today, right? So we go into next Thursday, Friday. At the very least, at this point, we're still going to just kind of dry things out at this point. So let's take a look at how much rain we could expect all together from now all the way through Wednesday. And we're looking at upwards of at least I think 3 inches of rain for the valley on average. Some places around north, around Redding, maybe a bit more than that. Some places to the south of Redding, maybe a little bit less than that. If you notice, we're actually seeing a potential of seeing more rain in the valley than we will see for the coast. But the coast will see probably even upwards of 3 inches of rain. I think a very good possibility through Wednesday. And I think this is underplaying it a bit here. We could probably see over 1/2 inch. I mean, for Saturday, Sunday alone, we saw that we could see about 1/4 to 1/2 inch for parts of the northeast. So we'll probably tack on a little bit more to that as we go into the long range and extended. But here's what's interesting. Remember I was talking about next Thursday, next Friday, we're drying things out? Well, the precipitation outlook, the Climate Prediction Center, the forecast models are picking up on that potential of seeing less rain. Because you see what's happening as you get into this gray color and into the darker, in these little shades of green, that's indicating near normal to just slightly above normal rainfall. So we're seeing less of these darker greens that we've seen for the last week or so, and we're getting into quite possibly a drier pattern. But that drier pattern may not last for a significantly long period of time. All right, so here are your wave heights, okay? Now, when you're taking to 6 p.m. on Saturday, 15 feet. This is where we're seeing a small craft advisory. And even though Sunday they may drop a little bit here, they're still going to be fairly high, about 12 to 13 feet. So marine forecast for your Saturday. South winds at 15 to 25 knots, waves from the west at 12 feet at 12 seconds, and from the west at 12 feet at 19 seconds. Your high and low tide, there's a small craft advisory through Saturday evening. All right, here's what it looks like tonight. It looks like temperatures dropping down into the mid to upper 30s again. With the overcast skies, we're not going to see temperatures really drop below freezing in many cases here for the mountains. And for the valley, temperatures mid to upper 40s, upper 40s to around 50 for the north coast. All right, so here's your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. For your Saturday, temperatures mid to upper 40s. Of course, you've got that rain. It will be heavy at times. You've got gusty winds. We take you off for the north coast forecast. 57 out towards Eureka. 56 for Blue Lake, Garberville, about 56 degrees, and 52 for Shelter Cove. Up north, looks like Smith River, about 58, 56 for Gas Key. There's Orleans, about 54, 54 for Hoopa, and not to mention Willow Creek. And Trinidad, a high of 55 degrees. Your Siskiyou County neighborhood forecast. 51 out in Happy Camp, 49 for Fort Jones, 45 in Weed, and Tennant, about 43 degrees. All right, let's take you off to Modoc County, and there you can see about 47 for Fort Bidwell, Tule Lake about 48, 48 for Canby and Aden, and 49 for Calpines. All right, here's a look at Eastern Mountains neighborhood forecast. Viola, 45, 46 out towards Mineral, 50 in Greenville, and Janesville, also a high of 50 degrees. That's also the case for Susanville. Okay, so let's take a look at your Valley neighborhood forecast brought to you by Haas Farms. Temperatures mid to upper 50s for your highs, off and on rain all through the weekend, all the way through the middle of next week and up to the north. 52 for Whiskeytown, 54 for Lakehead, 58 in Palo Cedro and Red Bluff, about 59 degrees. So let's take a look at your Redding 7-day forecast. It's going to be wet, off and on rain, periods of heavy rain at times through the weekend and even into early next week. So for your President's Day, well, it looks like you are going to be dealing with that wet weather here. But we should dry things out for Thursday and Friday, and that may even extend into that next weekend.